back again with another video. And in this video I'm just gonna give a quick rundown of my DOP instancer toolkit, and I'll also explain a little bit of why I made it. So like 2 years ago or something, or 3 years, I don't remember exactly, I made a tutorial on how to instance objects into Bullet, which was kind of a rudimentary way of doing it. And well, there's better ways to do that, which I've since discovered, obviously. And instead of updating a tutorial, I thought maybe it would be great if there was just a simple asset that you could just install, and then you can just plug objects in and then emit them that way. So that's what I've made. And while making it, I've also added other stuff like dynamic constraints and stuff, and it all became a little bit more, well, bigger than I initially thought it would be. But I think right now it's working really well, and it allows for super cool stuff. So I really hope you enjoy this. If you're into any bugs, let me know, of course, and make sure that you're if you're on which version you are, you can check the version number on the notes that it'll say on top. Like here it says 1.0.0 because it's, well, I'm recording this tutorial, so this is going to be the first version, of course. So it'll say that on all those assets. So, and it'll also say on the Patreon page with the version number. So if there's a newer version number on Patreon, just download the latest one. So that might fix any issues you have. But without further ado, let's dive into how the whole thing works. Right. So the first example is some Lego bricks falling, which are similar to the intro video that I made. So yeah, that's this. So let me talk you through how you set something like this up. So there's multiple parts to the whole thing. You have the DOP instancer. So if you just type DVH, that's the acronym, and that will bring up all of the different tools. You have the DOP instancer, and this works together with a instance activate. And why this instance activate is here is because if you have multiple rigid body objects, you need to be able to tell this which it needs to spawn in. You can give it a data name. So by default it's set to run on the input. So right now it's empty, but like if I plug this in, it'll just name it this data name. But you can also give it a custom name. As long as the activate name and this name are the same, it'll work. So just be sure that you activate it, else it won't work. So yeah, let me just make a new one, and I'll show you. I'll put this in later. So put a DOP instancer in there. There we go, set it up. So now it's set to work on that one. And then we're greeted with this little window, and you can use both a internal emitter or you can use it to instance on point. So if I turn this on, then that disappears and you just get the emitter setting. So yes, let's use the internal emitter for now. So yeah, let's set an object to emit. So let me just copy this from here. So let's just set it to create one object here and post this Lego brick in here, and let's move the emitter up a little bit. So you can also just activate the handle in the viewport and then just move it around. And in here you have the emission rate, well, which is basically what it says it is. You can just up it and lower it to get more or less emission. So if I play now, you can see it will start to emit all these big Lego blocks. You can see they're quite big. So what you can do is you can use a fact snippet, just like in a pop node. You can just open it. It's set up with some random stuff to orient them randomly. That's the default, and it's set up with a smaller p-scale. So if I do this now, you can see we start to emit some Lego blocks. And I can also, of course, you can, if I remove all the other stuff, let's, not sure why this is erroring now. So I just play it. As you can see right now, they're just emitting straight. And if I put back all of the other vacs, you get this. You can, of course, randomize it any way you like. If I up the rates, there will be a lot more. I can scale down the emitter by just putting it 0, 0, 0. Now they will all emit from one single point. So yeah, so everything is emitting nicely. So yeah, I can just add more objects in here. So let's I have 5 bricks in total. So let's just copy paste the other bricks in here. Like that. And if I now play, you can see it will randomly select objects and emit them in the rigid body simulation. So that's basically how you do just default emission of rigid bodies. And again, you can in this vector angle you can do other stuff, like for example you can see set the velocity, so v at v equals set 10, like something like this. Now they will be blasted to the side on when they start emitting. So yeah, so you can generally select any type of regular object in here and it will work. You can also use packed instancing. Those require a name attribute. If I do it like this, there will be a name attribute created by default. So if I go out of here and just see to my go to my loading asset, and I go to look in here, a geo spreadsheet. You can see they get a name based on the path, and there's also just a regular path in here, and they also get IDs and all that other stuff and age, so you can use all of that. So yeah, there's that, and you can see there's this other thing in here, instance replace, and well, if you highlight it, of course you see nothing happens, but that's because basically what it does, it just replaces any of the instances here with the geo that's in sub level. So let's say if I go into one of my bricks, so let's go into the red brick, for example, as this one, and if I now plug in this pig head and I go back here, you can see there's now a pig head instead of a brick. And then if I plug in this again, you can see there's now the brick is back. So that's easy to just swap out stuff or change your brick if you want. So I could also like go in here and just change some stuff. Like what should I change? Just like the tube height or something, like the 0.7. Let's see what that does. So then you can see my brick change. So that just makes it easier to change some stuff around later. Let me put that back to what it was. I'm not sure what the value was, 22 or something. Let me check on the other one of the other ones. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, that just makes it easy to swap out certain stuff. Right, so in this next example, I'm emitting from my pop network. So we just have some pop simulation here with some particles going to the side. Nothing interesting going on here, but if we go into the dop network now and go to the instancer, you can say now it's set to instance points. You can have multiple instance points if you want, but now it will be emitted from those particles. So they only get spawned like in the beginning, where the particle when it just starts out, and then like the instancing tool will take over. Another thing that I forgot to mention is you can also instance from disks, so you can also just load BGOs or whatever from here if you want. But what I'm doing here as well is, apart from also instancing from a pop network, what I've turned on is packed instancing. So if I turn that off, you can see they will just be emitted regularly, but they are fractured objects. So if I go in here and let's check, so the pig here, it's fractured, multiple pieces, so is the box. And what you can do is, if I put include packed instancing, this requires a name attribute, else it won't work. But if I do that, and what you can see is it will take into account all of the pieces inside every object, and they will each also get their unique names and stuff. The only thing that doesn't still work here is replacing instances. I haven't quite figured out that part yet, so that's coming later. But all of the naming and stuff, it's all it just takes the name, it adds a random name to it, so every name is unique. So you can do stuff like retiming if you want, like you can do a time blend and then do a time shift and just highlight that, and like if I put it to divided by 3, now I got some slow motion going on. So that all works because of the unique IDs and stuff. That's how you emit from a pop network and how you emit fracture geo. So now let's go into the whole constraints stuff, which is really cool. Right, so if you go into the next example, go in here. So there's a little bit more going on in here. So yeah, what we have here is we have a wall. And the bottom part is deactivated, so it will just stick in place. And it just uses glue constraints right now, but you could use spring constraints or soft constraints, hard constraints, whatever you want. And then I'm instancing some boxes. So just regular fitting, like instancing boxes in here. This is all set up exactly the same as something else, as the other examples. But like this is where the instance activate actually comes in, because if you didn't do this, then I wouldn't know what to activate the pieces in, and if you didn't apply this, then like the constraints in the wall would break. So that's why you need to activate pieces. And if you're combining multiple constraints, so you need multiple constraint networks. So I have a constraint network here. This is for the wall. So if I just turn off my, okay, good. So if I just do this, I don't have any constraints on my boxes, so they will just randomly fly apart. But if I plug my second constraint in here, you see all of my boxes here have their own constraint network. Right now they're quite soft, so let's increase that, and let's fix this bug here, which is really annoying. So if I just up the strength here, for example, now the boxes will be much stronger. But that's of course just a global multiplier. So I can do it in here. So how this works is again, you plug the object you want to create the constraints on into the constraint creator. So then it'll get the proper name, and then here you can select what type. Like you can just use a wrangle to set up the constraint type. It's set to spring now, but could use whatever the other type. Of course, this should actually be glue, but I mean, doesn't matter. It's just the name that it will run over. So yeah, as you can see, it doesn't matter with the, if I just do it like that. It's just regular constraint setup. There's some other stuff here, is run over points and run over prim. So run over points happens before the constraint creation. So if you dive in here, so there's some stuff that can happen before the constraints get created and stuff that happens after the constraints get created. So for example, if I'd say, like I could have constraints be created after a certain point. We will get more into this later with the dynamic constraint stuff, and then I'll show you some examples, but just know this runs before and then this runs after. So if you wanna just do stuff like randomizing strength, that's where you do it in here. And in this case, because I wanna create it per box, I wanna create constraints per piece. So what that'll do is it create a little constraint network for each of the individual boxes. So if I were and do that, it will look around it as well. And if I enable this, it will just look within this box and create constraints in there to just glue everything together. So just keep that in mind, and then you can just do stuff with constraints here. So if I were to set it to -1 here, then it will just be super strong, like they won't ever break. And if I just put it back to what it was, and then just put it to like minimum of 1 and a maximum of like super high, and if I play then, let's play, then some will like be super strong and others will break apart. So yeah, you can use it any way you want. So let's put it just back to the random things. So that's how you set up like glue constraints. So this is great for like emitting debris inside of a rigid body sim, and then the debris can break apart, which is also the big part of this instance toolkit, because there's other ways to instance rigid body geometry. The only thing that normally you just can emit single pieces, and with this you can emit, well, fractured geo. Currently there's no way to load already created constraints. It's something I might look into later to create. Right now it will just create them on the fly, so keep that in mind. So let's move to the next example. Right, so this next example is actually quite cool. It's really motion graphicsy type of effect. Let's just play. So what this is doing, it's creating, it's emitting boxes. So I have 2 different boxes here. Actually I have 3. Do I have 3? Oh, it's set up with 1 too many, so let's go in there and remove the 1 box, like that. So one of the boxes is not shattered and the other one consists of multiple boxes. And it's just moved apart a little bit with a pop force. As you can see, you can just put pop forces underneath it and it'll work fine. So if I crank that up, then it'll have a lot more going on there. Anyway, so this is set up with spring constraints. So again, there's a little wrangle here that just decreases the rest length and ups the strength. So if I were to up this a lot more, then everything would come together a lot faster. In the constraint setup, I can set up maximum connections to be only 1. Then you get more of these wire type things. I could set it up to be like super high, 20, and then everything can connect with everything, and then you get like really big balls of clumping going on. You can see you can do really cool like motion graphics stuff with this. So put it back to 3. If you put it to constraints per piece, you can also do that. As you can see, then they will just create constraints in the individual pieces, which is right now not looking that amazing. Like maybe if I up the thing, you can see what's going on, then they will just sort of fly and sort of do things individually. So that's how you do that basically. So yeah, another thing which you could do here is, for example, this where the run over points can come in. So let's say I will enable this fact. So if h is below 1, then there won't be any constraints created. So as you can see in the beginning, they won't get any constraints, and then after about 1 second, they will start getting constraints. So that will allow for like cool stuff. So I could like up the constraints here, so nothing happens. And of course it can all be randomized. So I could say float r is rand at id, and then if age is, so let's fit it first. So r equals fit 0, 1, r, and then 0.5, 2. And if h is below r, remove point, and then now it should be somewhat randomized. Then you can, well, that's why you can like create cool sort of randomizy type stuff. yeah, and again, so this happens before constraint creation, this happens after constraint creation. So again, just to show, so they won't do anything in the beginning, and then after 1 second, they will start huddling together, and you can create these really cool effects. So let's see what I did in the second one. I think this is exactly the same one, so let's just remove this. So yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions, just let me know, I guess. Yeah, hope you enjoy, and let me see any cool stuff that you create with this. Hopefully I will see some cool stuff come out of this. Well, thanks guys, bye.